Fields. Good morning, Justin.
Morning, Mike.
How's life treating you?
Not bad. Can't complain. It's a little chilly outside, but you know what? I was kind of ready for winter weather.
It's been teasing for a while. Like, we'd get one little instance where it drops and then, boom, right back up to the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yesterday was challenging.
Yeah.
80 degrees and windy. I kept thinking it's not May.
It's like living in a blow dryer.
Yeah, true story. It was. I told somebody, I said, I don't mind the cold. I don't mind the heat. I hate the wind. You can put on more clothes, you can take off more clothes, but you can't do anything about the wind if you got to be outside.
No, exactly. It's just in your face and annoying. So
yep.
Maybe, just maybe, we're starting to get actual fall temperatures. We'll see. For good. For at least for
just in
months.
time for winter, it'll be fall.
Exactly. Well, of course, real quick, we do want to mention if you've missed any of our previous how-to segments, you can go. There's multiple sources you can go to. Builders Do It Center has a YouTube page. Mm-hmm. I was going to say Facebook. You have one, but
we do.
But the YouTube page where you find most of the videos, and I think the links on Facebook link you to the YouTube, right?
Exactly.
So, but anyway, they're there, and there's covers everything from last time we were talking about winterizing, like pipes, things like that, stuff you need to do to prep for winter. That's a good one to check out right about now.
Yeah. So if you forgot that it's going to be cold until whenever you left the house this morning, and you're a little concerned about those sort of things, go back, either go to facebook.com/Builders Do It Center or youtube.com and search Builders Do It Center. Or the station, of course, has, I believe, the videos on
our
y'all's Facebook page
Roswell Talk FM.
And Roswell Talk FM, yep. So
I'll just say, since we are supposed to get the 26 overnight, maybe tonight's a good night to turn on the spigots a little bit.
It would be. Definitely start thinking about it, especially if you're going to be out of town. If you're if you're leaving town or you're going to be out late, and for some reason your heat's not going to be on, definitely worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
Running a little water to prevent a Saturday morning surprise.
Absolutely, because it'll. That's when it happens, when you think, I'll be all right, and then you aren't all right. And hopefully the first time you just have no water.
Yes.
Not a burst pipe, because no water, though inconvenient, is a lot cheaper than a burst pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that being said, so check those out, the previous ones. And if you want to learn about, maybe you're thinking about doing some interior painting or tile work or stuff now that it's colder, there's previous episodes to check out there where you can find out all about it. I have my pen now. I was like, where'd my pen go? Now I got my pen. Today, though, we're talking, actually, 'tis the season for, well, some of us don't start till about a month from now to shop. But the person, I don't say most people, some people actually start now, have already started their Christmas shopping. And, of course, I know there at Builders, there's always tools and gadgets that folks like to buy for their handy person in their house. And basically, some of them are great. Some are what they are. They're just some kind of, they may, in concept, seem like a good deal, but don't really hold up to what they need to do.
There's some of those. There's a big difference between a good tool and a gadget.
Right.
One of the basic rules for me is any tool or gadget that claims to be able to do more than one thing generally doesn't do more than one thing well.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, because those are the ones you see a lot. Like, you'll get, and it'll be like one of those like screwdrivers or something that you can unscrew anything. Doesn't matter the head or any of that stuff.
And there's some good stuff out there. Don't get me wrong. There's multiple tip screwdrivers that are great tools.
Yeah.
11-in-1s and stuff like that, which are A, great gifts, and B, are great if you need to have that kind of thing in your tool bag and don't want to have to switch constantly. That's my personal favorite, are things like 11-in-1 screwdrivers. But I'll give you a great example. Multi-tools are great. Leatherman's, Gerber's, whatever. Yeah. There's a ton of different brands.
Yeah.
I love them. I always have one with me. And they're good because they do one thing pretty well, which is their pliers, and they have some other tools on them.
A knife blade and screwdriver tip.
Exactly.
They're good in a pinch if you need something tightened down real quick, but don't have your toolbox with you.
Exactly, yeah. So those are great. Where you have to be careful is things like a couple of years ago, a couple of manufacturers started making multi-tools that also had an integrated hammer. And yeah, exactly. So what you end up with is, rather than having a tool that is okay for a couple of jobs, you end up with something that's not good at anything because it's useless as a hammer. It ends up not being very good pliers because of the shape, and it is just generally not particularly
It's trying to do
useful.
too much. It's overkill.
It is, much like with some people, there are some things that are capable of multitasking, but most of us can only multitask and do everything at a mediocre level.
One I've been seeing on TV a lot lately, and I don't know if you've had experience with it or not. It's this one that for like if you're trying to build like or repair drawers and things like that. It's this. Basically, it's a guide that you use to drill your hole to sink your screw in. And I don't know if you've seen the one I'm talking about.
Is it the Craig jig, probably?
Maybe.
Is it blue?
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But it's basically designed so you get a perfect angle on your
that's
screw.
the Craig jig. Pocket screw
so you
jigs.
get a better secure drawer. Or
That's
whatever
actually a really great
That's what I was going to
product.
ask. I was like, is that one legit or is that
That's
gimmicky?
a Craig jig is a fantastic product. We carry them in the stores.
Okay.
I've used one personally, and it's a great tool. If you have somebody in your life that is a woodworker or a carpenter who does some finish work, if you're the kind of person that you're not doing any finished carpentry, you're painting around the house, maybe doing a little light electrical. It's not a tool you're going to use, but anybody that builds cabinets or hangs doors or works on windows. Even if you're repairing furniture
Sure.
or building furniture, they're great because it's a really unique way of being able to join wood, and it's something you can't do without the tool.
Well, it's tricky, yeah. It's and even if you get it secured, chances are it's not. It's you're buying time till it comes loose again or something.
Exactly, yeah, and there's just stuff you can do with pocket screws, which are what those are called, pocket hole screws, that you just can't do any other way. Really, and they're a fantastic gift because they're not too expensive. You can get a kit that includes the jig and a drill bit, which it's a specialty drill, but it's got a different shape to it, so you kind of need that. But you can get a small pocket jig and the drill bit for like $20.
Okay.
Or you can go up from there. I mean, you can spend a couple of $100s on. They have pocket jig or pocket screw jig tools that have an integrated drill and all these other things that if you have someone in your life that builds cabinets or builds furniture all the time, that's their hobby. That's a great investment because they will use it all the time.
Sure.
And there's everything in between. That's a great gift for a do-it-yourself or a home hobbyist woodworker
Gotcha.
or a professional in your life.
Let me ask you this, because I think the one item that I think every home probably either has or should have, even if you're not handy, it's something you use at one point or another, is like your power drill screwdriver combo.
Yep.
I mean, they always get used in, from hanging pictures to actual, remodels and things like that. But there's so many different types out there. There's so many different styles, power levels, things like that. I mean, what's a good rule of thumb for determining? I mean, because I know there's most guys, you get the Tim the Tool Man, it's like, oh, we need the industrial strength Super 9000 that, it just by the mere air that comes out of it puts a hole in your wall. To everything where it basically, as soon as it hits the wall, it stops turning. I mean, there's such a gamut on these. What's kind of a good rule of thumb when you're shopping for those?
If you're only going to buy one power tool, definitely a drill is the way to go. Drill or impact driver, which is very similar. So pretty much everybody's familiar with the impact wrench. If you've ever gone to the tire shop, they use a pneumatic impact wrench typically, although a lot of those guys are going now to electric because of some updated technologies, and you hear that hammering sound. An impact driver is the same thing, only with a different chuck on it. So rather than putting a socket on it, it has a quarter-inch insert that allows you to put a drill bit or a screwdriver bit in it. And that hammering sound you're hearing is there's actually an anvil and a hammer inside of the tool.
Okay.
And it's allowing it to apply more torque. So that's a really good option. We have a lot of folks who use an impact driver instead of a drill. If you only can have one or the other, a drill is probably a better choice because you can do more things with it.
Sure.
But an impact driver is not a bad option as a second tool. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend going cordless. There was a time when corded was probably a better option because of cost and battery life.
Sure. But
battery technologies and tool technologies have gone a very long way, even in the last year or two. And we're actually getting to the point with cordless tools that you can really replace corded tools, especially for a professional that can invest the money and justify it to go cordless. So for a drill, I would always recommend going cordless. I would recommend buying the highest quality you can afford and avoiding, there's kind of two classes of power tool brands. There's kind of, three actually. So you have the no-name brands, that or generic.
It's kind of like TVs or anything else.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
I would generally avoid those.
Okay.
There's what I kind of consider homeowner brands, which would be Black & Decker, Skill, Ryobi, and there's a lot of good products in those. And if you're just looking for something to use around the house, you're not even a serious do-it-yourselfer, they're a great investment. They're not super expensive. A lot of them are very good quality. They're a good choice. Now, if you're even a slightly serious do-it-yourselfer, if you're planning on building a deck occasionally or even hanging some drywall, or you're going to use this on a pretty regular basis, I'd recommend going to what I consider kind of a professional grade power tool.
Okay.
We're primarily a Milwaukee dealer, and I definitely have a bias toward Milwaukee, but anybody in this category would be like Milwaukee, DeWalt, Makita, Hilti,
Okay.
Porter
Those are more
Cable.
of your contractor type brands.
Yeah, contractor industrial brand. Now, there are price points within those tools that even a do-it-yourselfer can make the investment in. And I would recommend you're better off going to a lower voltage rating and a better quality tool. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Most manufacturers now kind of have their tools in 2 voltage ranges when it comes to cordless. So for Milwaukee, they have what they call an M12 system and an M18 system, so a 12-volt and an 18-volt system.
Okay.
And when we're talking about voltage and tools, you want to be really careful that you understand what you're really looking at, because a lot of manufacturers will play games and they'll have a 20-volt and say, well, we have a 20-volt and our competition has an 18-volt. Well, you want to understand how they measure voltage. So some manufacturers, when they say it's a 20-volt or an 18-volt, that's the peak voltage. So that tool will draw 20 volts the second you put a load on it. So if you have a drill bit in there, the moment it hits the wall and there's a load going through that motor, it'll draw 20 volts.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's going to draw 17.6 or something like that. So that's really what the voltage is.
Okay.
Other manufacturers, Milwaukee's a great example of this. When they say 18 volts, 18 is the average. But anything within a 2 to 4 volt number range, one way or the other, you're really looking at something that is roughly comparable.
Okay.
So I almost always recommend for a homeowner, even if you're a serious DIYer, 12 volt's a great option.
Okay.
A lot of folks want to go to the 18 volt. Well, there's a couple of advantages of staying in the smaller tool. Number one, they're simply smaller, which makes them easier to use. They'll fit in tighter spaces.
Lighter, more
They're
comfortable.
lighter, exactly. Number two, they're less expensive.
Sure.
They're just a smaller tool.
What about
And-
battery life? Because I'm thinking if it's 12 volts, it's using less volts, therefore should use a longer life on the battery. Or is that, did they just put a bigger battery on there?
No, so exactly. The batteries are just a different size of battery.
Okay.
Pretty much every manufacturer, ultimately, there's 3 things you want to look at with batteries. One is the battery technology. There's 2 primary battery technologies in the power tool industry now, NiCad, nickel cadmium, or lithium ion. NiCad is what you see in most homeowner grade tools and anything at a price point.
Okay.
That's less expensive. Most professional grade tools now are lithium ion. There's a couple of huge advantages to going to lithium ion. One, overall the battery life is the same. So physically, if you have a nickel cadmium battery and a lithium ion battery that are the same size, the lithium ion is going to have a higher carrying capacity. It will last longer, provide more power.
Okay.
Number 2, the battery is going to last longer. Nickel cadmium batteries are notorious for not lasting very long, and they're very susceptible to having issues. If they get too hot, they have problems. If they get too cold, they have problems. A lot of folks, and this is a really common old wives' tale, is they talk about not wanting to. People will tell you either you need to drain a battery before you recharge it, so you want to use every bit of power in that battery before you recharge it, or they'll tell you the other way. Well, you don't ever want to drain it all the way. You want to start charging it. Well, with nickel cadmium, there's some truth to that. Even newer nickel cadmium batteries don't have the same issues. Lithium ion doesn't have any of those problems. With lithium ion, you can use it and store it on the charger, so that the minute you pick it up, it's fully charged. The reason for that is number one, the battery technology just isn't susceptible to the same issues, and 2, the technology that goes into lithium ion batteries is simply better. There's a computer involved in the charging that actually, and you're going to see how little physics I know and how little electrical engineering I know, but it modifies the waveform something so that you don't get what's called battery memory.
Gotcha.
And so that you're always fully charging that battery by changing the way it's charged. And that means it's going to last longer. The second thing you want to look at with that battery life is the amp hour rating. More amp hours means it's going to last longer. So we might have a 2 amp hour, a 4 amp hour, a 6 amp hour. We now have a 9 amp hour battery available in an 18 volt platform. Number one, it's very large physically because it's got a lot of cells in it.
Sure.
But in all honesty, for the size of it, the technology is incredible. And a lot of manufacturers, Milwaukee's a good example, have invested heavily in their battery technology because it's the biggest thing that moves the needle.
Sure.
The reality is a drill's a drill. It goes around and around. There's only been 1 or 2 big updates in drill technology in the last 10 years. We're going to talk about one of those because it's very important. But really, it's a drill. The battery platform has the ability to make that drill better. Another thing to really think about with batteries is with cordless tools, you're kind of committed to a brand. Most people, if they're DeWalt people, they're DeWalt people. If they're Milwaukee people, they're Milwaukee people. And it's not just brand loyalty. A lot of it is that the batteries are expensive.
Sure.
In a cordless tool, if a kit, and most cordless tools come in kits, if you're buying the drill, a charger, and 2 batteries, and it's $200, just as an example, $150 of that is the charger and the 2 batteries.
Wow.
The tools aren't that expensive.
Gotcha.
The batteries get expensive because there's a lot of chemicals. Lithium ion is expensive, and so is nickel cadmium. They're expensive to mine and bring in, and all those other things. So you want to have the ability not to buy extra batteries, and people like having 20 batteries that fit all their tools. That way, they always have lots of power.
Sure.
But want to make sure that if you're looking at that your battery platform can work with all your different tools. Some manufacturers, it doesn't work that way. It may be an 18-volt battery, but it doesn't fit all of that manufacturer's 18-volt tools. Some manufacturers do a very good job of this. Milwaukee does a great job. Every 18-volt Milwaukee battery fits every 18-volt Milwaukee tool. And when they bring out new tools, the new tools work with the old batteries, and when they bring out new batteries, the new batteries work with the old tools. Rigid does a very good job with that. Makita does a better job than some. There's a lot of manufacturers out there that do a good job of it. Rigid does a real good job. Hilti does a great job. And that's really important because you don't want to buy a new tool and then not be able to use your old batteries. I've made this mistake personally, and it's really frustrating when you get home and you unbox that new tool and you're really excited and you go to put the new battery in and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you want to really think about that reverse compatibility and making sure that your investment is worth what you put into it.
Sure.
The other thing you really want to think about is motor technology.
Okay.
I said there's only been one real big breakthrough in the last 10 years in cordless tools, and this has been in the last 2 years, and this is a technology called brushless technology.
Okay.
So traditionally, all electric motors have a brush. That's a little piece of carbon with wires running through it that allows the yet again, we're going to find out how bad an electrical engineer I am. It allows the tool to carry current into the armature, which basically is what makes the tool spin.
Gotcha. Okay.
Those brushes are a wear part. They're physically in contact with the motor. They're part of the motor. They get hot. They wear out. Over time, you have to replace them. And they inherently were wasteful because of the friction. Well, they were necessary because up until recently, there was no really other practical way to run that motor. Now a lot of manufacturers have come out with brushless technology. Milwaukee calls theirs Fuel, and they don't have brushes at all. They use a combination of computers and some other technology to be able to transmit that electricity into that motor.
So if you to draw a comparison, would you compare this technology to in internal combustion engines where a carburetor versus fuel injection? That's kind of a
fairly
comparison?
Close. The difference in performance is even more dramatic, though.
Okay.
It's amazing what we can do now with brushless technology, and I'll give you an example. Is a drill. So Milwaukee has a 12-volt and an 18-volt platform. They make drills in both. The 12-volt brushed, the old drill, and the 18-volt drill that was brushed. The 18-volt drill had about a 50% more power and about twice the battery life of the 12-volt.
Okay.
The new 12-volt brushed has more power and longer battery life than the 18-volt. The 12-volt brushless has more power than the 18-volt brushed.
Gotcha.
It is that different.
Okay.
It is so much more power and more battery life that we are seeing that brushless technology replace corded tools, things like table saws. You know,
Oh, wow.
there's a couple of manufacturers that have come out with cordless table saws. Honestly, I didn't think I'd ever see that worked. You know, maybe as a gimmick, they actually work. They're really awesome. Cordless miter saws, cordless grinders. There's been cordless cutoff tools, meaning something you could use to cut metal with, but you couldn't grind large areas because that's a really high demand. You're talking about a lot of friction and a lot of power. We now actually have truly cordless grinders that are intended to replace a corded
And it's
grinder.
all
in a lot
thanks
of
to this
applications.
brushless technology.
Because it's so much more efficient. You
Wow,
get
okay.
more power, you get 50% longer battery life, and the actual tool lasts longer. The tool should last 2 to 3 times longer because it doesn't get as hot. There's not as much friction. There's none of this carbon dust coming off those brushes getting inside the motor, causing issues down the road. So if you can afford to go to brushless, it's a great investment. They're not inexpensive. Most manufacturers now have a brushless product. But if you're somebody that uses a drill regularly, or you just want the Mac Daddy of all drills, go to brushless.
Sure.
It's amazing. We're actually seeing brushless technology replace pneumatics. We have customers who, in the ag field, who traditionally had large format air-powered impact wrenches to remove things like lug bolts on tractor tires because pneumatics were the only thing that could provide enough torque. They're now going to brushless 18-volt electric impact wrenches because they can get the same amount of torque and not have to have a compressor and an air hose and drive a service truck out in the field. They instead have a tool they can carry in their hands.
It's impressive.
And go do the job. It blows me away, to be honest with you. And that technology is not only in drills and impact drivers and impact wrenches. We're seeing it in reciprocating saws, circular saws that now will basically outperform a corded saw.
Oh, wow.
Grinders, like I mentioned. Even the same technology is being applied to nailers. So brad nailers and finish nailers. You can use that same brushless technology to power a little flywheel that actually drives nails instead of using a pneumatic tool.
Wow.
And achieve results that look like pneumatic, but in a cordless version.
I imagine the guy who created this technology is probably living pretty large right now, isn't he?
I think so. I mean, brushless technology is not new to the motor business.
Right.
I mean, I think brushless technology has been around maybe since the 90s.
But using it in this application.
We have reached the point where it's cost effective, and they figured out how to make it small enough.
Gotcha.
And it's been pretty cool to watch. I got to see the first brushless stuff about 3 years ago, before it was even out on the market, and it blew our minds. I mean,
Gotcha.
it changes the way we look at the power tool industry.
So we're running short on time, but so if you're doing some shopping for tools, things like that, especially the power tools we're talking about here, if you take nothing else from this, take the brushless, ask about, say, hey, I want to get my whoever a power drill here. I heard something about brushless technology. Can we go in that direction? And then anybody there, builders, will be like, sure, we got you. We know exactly what you're talking
Absolutely.
Good deal.
Yep. And the other really big thing to look at is if you're buying a gift for somebody, think about, tell us what you're wanting to spend.
Sure.
And we can really help guide you into the right things.
And then if you're not sure, maybe your budget's open, but the uses would be the other thing. Okay, what do they plan on using this for? And then you can say, all right, well, you don't need this because that's too much, but maybe something in this range. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can really help. Tell us about the projects that your loved one does. Are they a contractor or a trade professional, or are they just somebody that's doing a little repair around the house? And we can guide you into the right tool and the right options for gifts. You can always go to a gift card. We're
Absolutely.
more than happy. We've got the Builders Do It Center project card. And
Sure.
They can come back and go shopping to their heart's content
Yeah.
if that fits your gift shopping style a little better.
Sure. Now, if you have one of those folks, I know that they don't like gift cards, but they like having actual things. So what the move would probably do is get them some lesser tools, the non-expensive stuff, and then give them some gift cards for the more high-end kind of stuff.
One of the neat ones we've seen a couple people do is come in and buy a tool box or a bucket or bag, some sort of carrier, and a project card.
That's a good idea. I like that.
They wrap the larger thing, and then it's got a project card in it. So they basically unwrap it and go, here, fill this.
Here's your box. Here's your toolbox. Go fill it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
Which is
great
kind
idea.
of fun. I'm the kind of guy that would love to get something like that.
That's a great idea. That's a best idea. And as far as this kind of project, I think that's the best one yet.
You get something physical. There's something under the tree. And,
Sure, absolutely.
But they also get the, with
the fun of picking out their tools.
For those of us that are tool people, there's nothing quite like going to the store. I mean, I work in a store with tools, and I still love going to tool shopping. It's It's fun. That's all there is to
You
it.
make sure you hang out whenever the new shipments come in. You're kind of like, oh, new shipments. Let's see what's in there.
Oh yeah, our reps will come around and they have all the demo stuff in the back of their trucks, and we'll stand out in the parking lot like after hours looking at tools. My wife's going, "What? You're an hour late. What the heck?" I'm sorry, I was looking at tools.
Looking at tools. There you go. Exactly. But come by Builders Do It Center. Like I said, for Christmas shopping here, if you're the person that knows absolutely nothing about this stuff, but you know your husband or wife is the one that does all this, and come talk to them. They'll put it. Just come with like you said, come with the projects they do and your price point, and then you'll find the right stuff.
Yeah, we'll help you find the right gift.
Perfect. Anything else we missed, Justin? We get it all?
No, as far as tools go, I think that's everything. I did want to take the opportunity, remind everybody that Chaves County CASA is having Winter Wonderland
Tonight.
this evening.
Yeah.
We're a big supporter at Chaves County CASA. So if you're looking for something to do this Friday evening, First American Bank at 6 o'clock, I believe. We're doing a live Christmas tree auction. I was over at the bank yesterday. Builders has contributed we do a ladder tree most years. So we donate a ladder and then a bunch of tools to go under the tree, and then the whole ladder gets wrapped in lights, which is my kind of tree for the record. So if you're thinking you might want to get a gift for somebody, this might be a good way to start.
Sure. And how about CASA at the same time?
Absolutely. And there's a bunch of other beautiful trees. There's so much neat stuff.
What time do they start over there tonight?
I believe 6 o'clock.
6
I think the
o'clock.
live auction starts at 6:30.
Very good. First American Bank.
First
come by.
American Bank on 4th.
Yeah.
6th.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know. What you're talking
Downtown.
about. Yeah.
First American Bank, downtown.
He's giving me.
Yeah.
Right, it's right across. Yeah, catty corner
Yes.
where we're at here. So it's 4th or 5th.
Third.
It's right
That is
downtown.
fourth.
We're
That is fifth.
Yes.
Everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" It's downtown. Just come
Yeah.
downtown. You'll see First American Bank downtown Rossville.
Exactly.
Thanks, Justin.
Park at the county building.
There you go. Perfect. Thanks, Justin. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks. All right.
Thanks, Mike. Looking forward